From the heart of Big Ten country, Los Angeles, California, Ryan Abraham and David Woods present the Podcast of Champions.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Podcast of Champions. I'm David Woods from Bruin Report Online, the UCLA site on the 24/7 Sports Network.
And I'm Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com, the USC site on the 24/7 Sports Network. And together we make the Podcast of Champions, like the Wonder Twin Powers putting their rings together. And we talk all things Big Ten football. This is a rare week. First of all, we have 18 games to go over.
That's not a rare week. It's just what we have to deal with in non-conference play.
But also, you were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I was in Las Vegas, literally just drove right to the studio, and I got here about 10 minutes ago.
I got in from Hawaii at, I think, 12:30 this morning.
Okay. So we are, I got 2 hours of sleep.
I didn't get much more. We're good to go.
Yeah. So
we're ready to rock.
This is like typical Podcast of Champions for all you new people out there. We're going to talk about 18 freaking football games from the Big Ten.
Is that what we call UCLA versus Hawaii? Is that a football game?
I want to congratulate the newly assimilated Big Ten former Pac-12 teams because they
Oregon and UCLA both put together a great Big Ten showing.
USC. I mean, USC's 27 points. Like, come on, they're all Iowa at this point. No, this is great. So we have a huge show. We got a ton of questions. Voicemails. We're doing our power rankings, which now there's 18 of those. We are going to recap every freaking game. There's 18 of those. We have to we're going to do an homage to the old POC, Podcast of Champions, and our old power rankings. So if you're a former Pac-12 team, you're going to get ranked.
Stay tuned until the end of the show because after we do Big Ten stuff, we'll talk Pac-12 briefly.
Ton of emails we got. If you want to email us, big10cast@gmail.com. Thank you for that. We got one text and I think like 3 voicemails. If you want to leave us a voicemail or send us a text, 424-532-0678. You can tweet us at B1G Podcast. And, of course, if you have the Apple Podcasting app or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star rating with either of those apps. And if you have Apple, you can leave us a review. And the reviews are fun to make fun of us, of how terrible we are at our jobs. I guess jobs you get,
or just in life. I mean, it can be deeply personal and vile.
But if you leave us a 5-star,
if it's 5 stars, we'll read it.
100%. You tell us how awful we are, ugly, whatever you want to say.
Nobody's left a new one.
Okay, so we got no.
Failure of our listenership. This is like Brian Kelly after the game, just throwing his entire team under the bus. I'm going to throw all of you under the bus. This isn't our fault that you're not reviewing us 5 stars. It's yours. Mm-hmm. You have the ability to do this. We can't do it for ourselves.
We can't do it.
So.
No.
Step up your game, please.
Yeah, please do that. It was a big weekend, and I know there's a lot of games. I was in Vegas. If you like betting, you got to do it with our partner over at MyBookie. Okay, the promo code you're going to use if you go to MyBookie is POC. You will get 100% initial deposit bonus. So if you put in $100, you double it. You get $200. So it's a great way to start off. Gives you a mulligan when you go in and do your betting. But, oh, my God, seeing all the lines, David, being in Las Vegas, so many games, you forget people are cheering for Ohio State to score some late touchdown so they can try to cover a 50-point spread. Things like this are happening all over the place, and it's so fun. If you want to do this, MyBookie, you can get on your computer, on your phone, whatever you want to do, and put the stuff in there. They've been a great partner for us over the years, and so it's an awesome way to kind of pass some of the time. We care about our picks. We pick up against the spread. We'll let you know how we did. Wasn't very good. I did beat David, so that's good. But yeah, so make sure you go over and check out MyBookie. The promo code is POC for 100% deposit bonus. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only over at MyBookie.
Beautiful read.
Thanks.
You would never know that you were on 2 hours of sleep trying to go through
really?
That. I mean,
I didn't read anything. I just kind of impromptu did my stuff. But,
yeah. You're an improv master. I've always said that about you.
I pulled up the text, like the copy, and I was like, my mind, I just couldn't even focus on I'm just going to talk because I know what I'm talking about.
It was gorgeous.
Stuff. But man, we got a lot of people in the chat. We are live on YouTube. David doesn't like to call it a simulcast, but I always do. Looks like we have 70 people online to kind of talk about everything that's going on. If you have a comment in there, a question, I will try to star it and look back at it later. And then I will look if you say anything funny or whatever, if I can. We're hosting and talking everything, but I will try to put it up there. Amy in the chat said, good to see me. I got to see Amy in Las Vegas, but we didn't see West Texas Mike. He didn't come out. I did 3 different events, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Flanker at Mandalay Bay. Didn't see West Texas Mike at all. I was very surprised at that. But a lot of USC fans, people wanting to take pictures. I couldn't walk. I'd walk around the casino. People would just like come up and like, hey, you're Ryan, blah, blah, blah. It was a lot of fun. It was a good time, but there was just a lot going on.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
I didn't leave the Mandalay until I had to walk to Allegiant. That was it. Like I valeted at the Mandalay, got in my room, got a couple drinks. We did our event Friday, hung over a lot of the day Saturday, did our event Saturday, and then Sunday game. So
wow.
Did our event. We did like a tailgate at the Flanker because people could just come over and walk over and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Exciting times. We got to talk a lot about Big Ten football.
We got to do that. We have some exciting news. We are very lazy. We don't do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So we could say, hey, it'd be cool to have drops.
Who would say that about us?
We have drops for every school. If we could create them, we were not going to do that. I want to give, do I have the, oh crap, I didn't add it. I'll do it here. For Shane, him and his wife, he's our one of our resident Washington fans, put together drops. So we have drops for every Big Ten school. You're probably not going to like it, but we got it. And if you don't like it, I would suggest submitting your own. Now that they're already on the board, they're probably not going to go away for, I don't know, till we get rid of this podcast. But if you come up with something great, you can.
All right.
So, but I'm looking for that. Mark says that stadium was louder than the UCLA game. There's going to be a lot of UCLA trash talk, I think, in this one.
I don't think so.
We're seeing some of this in there.
I mean, I think it's just 2 teams that got great wins away from their home environments.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see much dissimilar between Hawaii and LSU or the way those games went at all.
Taylor said UCLA had to go into a hostile road environment while Southern Cal didn't.
It was a real competition determining which of USC and UCLA would be number 1 in the power rankings this week.
I
don't want to give it away.
We were so how we're gonna do this? We recap the games. We don't have like the Pac-12 roundup sound. Like this was our old. Where is it? Yeah.
Pac-12 roundup.
So Shane, you didn't give us one of those. So I don't give you too much credit, but yeah, we could do that one if we could use one of those. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is go through each game and we're going to count down in reverse order. These are power rankings. These aren't like AP poll rankings. This is what we saw from week 1, what your team looked like. If you had all the hype in the world and you look like crap, you're not going to be number 1. If people thought you were pretty good and you look like crap, you're going to be probably down below. So should we just get into this?
Yes, please.
We have to get moving.
Big Ten roundup.
Nice. Our number 18 team. Oh man, these aren't even in alphabetical order. Here we go.
Michigan State Spartans.
Charge!
Wow. Michigan State beat Florida Atlantic 16-10. All right, I'll just ask this. Which one of Michigan State's second half points was your favorite, Ryan?
Wasn't there a safety?
Not in the second half.
Oh, there was
that opened the game.
So Big Ten.
Michigan State, man.
This was the Friday night one, right? Friday game. Yeah.
I've never tried to eat my words more quickly than when I said, "Hey, you're going to see signs of a good Jonathan Smith scheme early on." It wasn't there. Aiden Childs had a really rough go of it in his first start for Michigan State. Threw 2 picks, well under 50% passing. They did run the ball well, and I did say, they're going to be Jonathan Smith run scheme is good. And that was on display, but I wouldn't be surprised if this year is similar in some respects to his first year at Oregon State when it was just kind of establishing systems and that record was not good. Defense, though, really stoned Florida Atlantic in the second half, especially. When they weren't scoring, they were able to just generate stop after stop after stop after stop and pull out the win. So you take the good, you take the bad. I don't think Michigan State's going to be very good this year, but pulling out a win here, doing it with defense, and you can see little signs of a run game there. You'll take it. I mean, after what Michigan State's been through last year, a win's a win. So you'll take it.
Joe Johnson in the chat. Aiden Childs needs to be investigated for telling bettors to take the over. Yeah, this was not an over. And we do have resident Oregon State fan Clinton there. It says, Spartan fans in for a long year with Smith. Gambling play calls? Was there some gambling going on? I don't know if that, like, as far as like risky play calls. Yeah, this was not pretty. Let's see. This is the one I had differently. Michigan State was a 13.5-point favorite. I took Florida Atlantic. You took Michigan State. So I end up getting this one right. For the week, I was 8-7 against the spread, and David was 7-8. There was 3 we had different, and that UCLA one kind of secured it for me at the end. But we'll get to that a little bit.
I do think Aiden Childs is going to be good. I mean,
I think he's still.
They've just got a lot of missing pieces on offense.
Yeah, this was going to take a little while. I mean, it was a mess, but I feel like it was one of those things. Jonathan Smith took the job like way too early, and then all of a sudden, all these better opportunities sort of opened up. Like, oh crap, I wouldn't have to go through this. And it just, I don't know, we thought this was going to be a tough year for Michigan State. Watching this game, I didn't change my mind that it was going to be any different. Okay, our number 17 team.
Northwestern Wildcats.
So this is Shane's wife, who knows nothing about college football or these teams, did the sound.
I don't think there are any Northwestern fans to offend, and I think they all got into journalism, so they're just our colleagues anyway.
Yeah, okay.
This was very Northwestern / Iowa football. Northwestern won 13-6. It was
Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, against Miami of Ohio. It was 3-3 at half. And yeah, it was not in any stretch of the imagination a barn burner. What I will say is Mike Wright at quarterback, a little bit as advertised. Not super accurate throwing the ball. He's not going to challenge you deep too much, but his legs give them something that they haven't had a ton of. It's probably, I don't know, all Northwestern quarterbacks going back forever, but probably their best runner at quarterback in quite some time. And that was a real asset late. He scored a touchdown, scored the only touchdown in the entire game with his legs. But Northwestern's defense, I thought, played pretty well against the Miami of Ohio team that people were expecting to be halfway decent this year. So this isn't a nothing win. It's a decent home win against what was expected to be a quality-ish Miami of Ohio team. I mean, Northwestern covered. And this was, I think, Northwestern by 2.5 or 3 around game time. So nice win for them in the opener. I still don't expect much, but nice win for them in the opener.
Yeah, good win there. West Texas Mike says, Shane and Shane's wife, great job. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, this was one of the rare low spreads in the Big Ten because there was a lot of tomato cans being played. Miami of Ohio, I mean, people...
Not a pure tomato can, yeah.
That people had respect, Maction and all that stuff. But, pulls out the win. We both had Northwestern in this one, so we both got this one right. I didn't really get to see much of this one. This was during when we were doing our one of our events. I tried to check in a little bit on it, but this was a Big Ten Network one. But I tried to go in and see when they had a bunch of stuff on the screen. But it was close, and then Northwestern was able to get the win there. So, yeah, it's a good one. I mean... you can't. The Big Ten, what 17-1, but this would have been a bad loss, I think, for the conference. I mean, if you're looking conference-wise, you need to get these kind of wins, and I will give people passes in week 1. Yeah, there's some teams that had to play like a quality opponent, and you never know what's going to happen. You might not look that way 2 or 3 weeks down the road, but sometimes you play a tomato can. This was not, pure tomato can. This was actually a pretty good team. And you come out with a win, and you can say, hey, you biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2 and all that kind of stuff. So I think this one is like, hey, it's fine. You got the win. It's good. Kind of move on. The stadium, the temporary stadium looks pretty cool. It's right on the lake, right? So that's kind of neat. I don't know. Did you get to see much of that, David?
Yeah, it looked really cool, especially compared to the high school stadium I was sitting at. I thought it looked much more scenic, and it also, I don't believe, which we'll get to in a second, I don't believe it was a dew point of 75 degrees at Northwestern on Saturday.
Ah, okay. I do want to talk about that because I mean, I've been to Hawaii a bunch because we do like the Polynesian Bowl there, and I do want to know what the situation with the stadium and all that. Because Aloha is the biggest dumps I've ever been to. Probably Aloha and then Qualcomm, and Qualcomm's now gone. Right? They got rid of
Aloha is also gone now.
Yeah, they used to do like a swap meet there. Is it just all like?
I think they had. I think it's been condemned.
Wow. Yeah. It was that bad, like falling apart. But I want to hear all about this because our number 6 team just so happens to be, and I can't believe they're this
16
low.
Team.
16, as in
definitely not 6.
Third worst. I don't agree with this. Dave did these, but we'll go with it.
UCLA Bruins.
Wow.
Yeah. So UCLA obviously went into one of the we'd say probably top 5 toughest road environments in the country. A high school stadium at U of H Manoa that seats about 12,000 people.
So this isn't their new. They're building a new stadium, right?
Yes. Well, they haven't even started building it yet, though. They've appropriated the money, I believe.
Hey, there's so many political things. It's
Yeah.
hard to do stuff.
Hawaii. I was with
it's hard to do stuff in
a
Hawaii.
Lyft driver in Hawaii who said, "This is the most corrupt state in the United States. Like, it's just there's so much just graft going on. Like, with how they're trying to fund the stadium, they're also trying to build a bunch of condominiums on top of it and like get funding for that on top of the stadium. It's a mess." Anyway, it was just a mere 85 degrees with 71% humidity, so it actually felt like kind of like the surface of the sun when you were on the field pregame. They decided to play this at 1:30 local for some reason. They usually play night games in September.
Yeah, I don't know why. This needed to be the late game.
Yeah, this should have been like a 10 p.m. West Coast kick, like 7 p.m. local. Yeah, UCLA won the football game. They won 16-13.
Well, that's good. No, I mean, like, well, we had a comment, and this was something I was pointing out, is like, when we do the power rankings, that's why I don't think UCLA should be 16, and Taylor points this out. UCLA just beat a previously undefeated team, while the rest of the conference beat up on winless teams.
Mark Lucich is not getting the jokes.
Oh, Mark. Okay, Mark.
We're all firmly tongue-in-cheek here.
Yes.
UCLA looked like hot ass that entire game. Even in the second half when they started to play better, it was still so much of a struggle. So UCLA was scoreless at halftime. It was 10.
Wait, how many points did they have? Like,
my favorite point in the first half, it was 10-0 at halftime. UCLA looked horrible. Ryan just turned me down because I'm screaming.
Yes,
about UCLA.
I had to turn you down. I was like, look at his waves. Like,
but I can't even hear myself now. It's all muffled.
It's all right.
Did my sound get bad?
No.
Are you sure?
It's good.
Okay.
You were just very loud, like when you were talking about the 0 points scored.
I don't believe you.
All right.
Ethan Garbers was
Bill Plotchke said he was going to like win the Heisman or something.
Ethan Garbers threw 2 interceptions, one into the end zone, one out of the end zone. But that it's so hard to describe it if you weren't watching it. The offense looked like it had never practiced before. It wasn't just Garbers. The offensive line didn't look like it knew what the assignment was on where to block. The running backs seemed like they had never taken a snap out of a shotgun snap before, like had never, taken a shotgun handoff before, which is crazy because that's all they did under Chip Kelly. But they didn't look comfortable doing that. The receivers were mostly okay, but sometimes they would end up like 3 of them bunched in a single area. So that's probably an error. So you walk away from that and you're like, well, the offense just generally looked bad. And it's game 1 for an offense. So sometimes things look bad, but it looked bad in ways that I think UCLA fans are very familiar with over the decades. It looked bad in ways that take a long time to fix because you just had a month of practice and then you come out and you look like that. Garbers threw 2 interceptions. The second one, so in the first half, they had a 4th and 5 at the Hawaii 44 on the first drive. They elected to punt.
Oh, yeah, you should punt that every time, right? Is that what the analytics say?
In college football today, I don't think there's a single coach who's regularly going to do that except for like Kirk Ferentz. Like I think for the most part, most coaches are making
Remember our friend David Shaw?
Most coaches are making he doesn't have a job anymore. Most coaches are making the positive EV decision there, right? You go for that, and that's an automatic go. And then they also kicked a 52-yard field goal when they don't even have a starting kicker yet. Like they're still in a competition, and it's not because both guys are great. And they kicked it with the guy who struggled last year, and he obviously missed the 52-yarder, but that was, again, a 4th and 4 where they could have just gone for it. Okay, so you're thinking, well, they're just conservative. That's not good. That's pretty bad, but they're just conservative. Then 30 seconds to go in the game from their own 5, they decide to drop back and pass with 30 seconds to go in the first half. Sorry. They decide to drop back and pass into the end zone. Garbers is immediately under pressure. He's about to take a safety, should just take the safety. Instead, throws the ball over the middle of the field to the waiting arms of a Hawaii defender, who then nearly returns it for a touchdown.
Yeah. They got a field goal out of that, right? Like it could have been
yes,
it should have got a touchdown.
It should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
It ended up a field goal. They got lucky. That would have been decisive, too. I mean, 4 points. It doesn't take math major to add the 4 to the 13 and find a very disconcerting result. And then the second half, they were better. Garbers settled down. He was doing a lot more quick throws, a lot more one-step drops, throwing quick slants. He had a couple of deep shots. But even still, it didn't look great. They still had to settle for 3 field goals and only 1 touchdown. So 4 scoring drives where you only get 3 field goals. That's not great in, again, maybe we just need to recontextualize based off of, Big Ten reality, but that's not great in normal football. And Hawaii, their quarterback looked like he suffered a fairly serious foot injury, so his mobility was limited in the second half too, which didn't help them. It's not quite a 5-alarm fire, but it's getting close to it. Like there was just so many issues. They gave up a fake punt, and it wasn't even an intended fake punt.
That was the opening drive, right?
Yeah. So Hawaii's opening drive, they get a 3-and-out. Defense looks good, and then they run 9 guys out there on the receiving team. Do you know how many players can be on the field at once for one team?
It's at least 9. I think legally you could have 9.
I believe there are 2 more allowed, and you can see the wheels turning in the Hawaii punter's head. You can see the wheels turning because he starts the motion for kicking, and then he's like, "Wait, all of these guys are bailing, and there's only 9 of them. I'm just going to keep going." And he sort of walks and then jogs and then starts sprinting because it's like, oh, there's nobody here. And he gets like a 25-yard gain, and that ends up being their only touchdown drive. UCLA's defense looked good, but Hawaii was bad. I mean, that's the thing, is that this isn't a really good Hawaii team. This is a team that struggled.
They were 1-0, baby.
They struggled to put away a 1-10. In 2023, Delaware State was a 1-10 FCS team. They struggled to put them away the previous week. And then this week, they almost beat UCLA at home. UCLA's got a lot of stuff to figure out. They've got a bye week right now, but it's not good.
We had a comment from Brian. Surprised UCLA didn't look prepared after seeing how prepared their coach was at media days.
Well, and that was another thing, is I asked Deshaun Foster afterwards about the 4th down decisions, and so I asked him first about the field goal. He said whatever. We wanted to kick field goal. And then I asked him about why they didn't go for it on the 4th and 5, and he answered with, "I just wanted to go for it." And I truly still do not understand what that meant. And it was so loud I couldn't actually hear what he was saying live, so I didn't have a chance to ask the follow-up, but they didn't go for it.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Yeah. I thought UCLA was a 21.5-point favorite. They're a 14.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
But it's one of those rare ones where you barely score enough to cover the spread what you were favored by.
Yeah. Your score is just barely over the spread.
We thought the Iowa one would come into play, but that did not. But I had Hawaii in this one, so I had I got this one right, and David, for some reason, picked UCLA and did not get that one correct. All right.
Dicey.
Our number 15 team. This one really made me mad.
Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Is that a gopher?
I think so.
I love it.
I'm wondering, some of the music drops are like collegiate-y, and some are just like
some are just stuff that's just going to get picked up on YouTube and get this thing demonetized.
We'll see about that. Yeah,
we're testing that out, because otherwise we might have to ask Shane to remove some of the music. Okay, so Minnesota lost to North Carolina at home 17-19. They lost on a potentially game-winning field goal. They missed it. So many things to take away from this game. First, offense was a major struggle for Minnesota. I thought like basically their best plays were just like run it into the line of scrimmage and hope for the best. I think that's where they generated most of their best stuff. Quarterback Max Brosmer, obviously you hope he improves considerably, and I think there's reason to believe he will. But not a great first showing from him. I thought he looked a little indecisive at times. But you know, I don't want to be too harsh on Minnesota here because we don't know if North Carolina is any good. They might be. You know, they might be a little bit better than people were expecting. Their defense certainly looked pretty good at times, and you'd never know. Is it the defense? Is it the offense being bad? But I do think North Carolina might have a decent defense. But this was just, I mean, I thought PJ Fleck was a little bit conservative at the end. It seemed like they were spending a long time setting up that field goal rather than trying to score.
Terrible.
Or at least get it closer, because this guy had already missed one early on, and it was a pretty makeable one. So I just thought, you know, conservatism, that's a problem, and you set up a long shot to win it. It's not the NFL. College kickers are not automatic.
No.
When in doubt, you've got to try to score a touchdown. And you know, it was tough going the entire game. They only scored 3 points in the second half, so I get it at some level, but unfortunate. The thing I will say is I was semi-impressed with Minnesota's defense. They didn't quite get off the field quick enough. Like I thought North Carolina was able to sustain some long drives, but I thought they stoned them when they needed to for the most part and generally played good, tough defense. I think that will make Minnesota, they're not going to be, I don't think they're going to be great this year, but I do think they're going to have a chance in a lot of games because I think that defense is decent this year.
They were like bend but don't break you. They made some good plays, but this game really upset me. This was
you're a family member of Max Johnson?
No, I just put up on the screen. Yeah, tough break from Max Johnson in the Gophers game. Tony put.
Yeah,
up
it looked
there.
like he suffered. I didn't read anything about it afterwards. Did he suffer an ACL? It looked like a very serious.
I think he's out for the season.
Yeah,
if I read that correctly, but unfortunately, but that, I mean, it's one of those things where you got to take advantage of a home. You know, the quarterback goes down, take advantage of that at home. Minnesota wasn't able to. I felt a very conservative kind of offense there. I mean, it was like this field goal battle going on. It just seemed like both offenses were very risk averse, you know, and maybe North Carolina, where you're trying to replace a legend in Drake May, you're going on the road and all that. North Carolina was 1.5 point favorite. When we picked it, when I got to Vegas, it was actually 2 points. It would have been a push, but we lose this one, a 2-pointer. It was like, ugh. But missed field goal there at the end. Minnesota turns it over. That led to a field goal. Then they had a chance to punch it in, and they could have punched it in. They didn't. And they settle for a field goal. Then they give up another field goal, and then they miss a field goal. It was just like, I feel like this was one of those things. You're at home. It's very passive. Like you could have taken charge of this game instead of like kind of playing the like, well, then we'll kick the last one and we're going to win the game. I just hated that. So I felt like this was one that Minnesota could have won. You know, it's Big Ten versus the ACC early on, and you want to get those kind of victories between Power 5 conferences. And this seemed to be like a very winnable game that PJ Fleck kind of let slip away. One of those ones you're kicking yourself.
The fireworks operator certainly thought so.
Well, yeah, what was that? That was the...
They missed the field goal, but whoever was handling fireworks, maybe they got like a bad spotter who thought the kick was good or something, but they let off a few fireworks before blessedly stopping.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell. You know?
It is. I mean, if your angle's bad, but that's why you watch the refs.
Yeah, it was funny. Like even the game I was at, like it was so loud. Like the coin toss, Cotter Morissette, my writer and I, we tweeted like the coin toss winners. We tweeted something different, and I'm like, no, LSU won the toss. He thought USC won the toss.
He broke his femur.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was like a lower, like a. No, wait, that's the upper leg.
Yeah,
right?
that's breaking your thigh. That's the most serious leg break.
Yeah, that didn't look good. There was a big weather delay in this one too. It just was like a mucky muck, like Big Ten yucky. But you got to win those ones, you know. And I felt like Fleck could have taken control and did it, and that was kind of annoying. Okay, next up we have, what is it? Our number 14 team.
Purdue Boilermakers.
Is that a train whistle?
I think so.
Yeah, Purdue.
Hope you guys hate or like these. Let us know. Whatever,
I don't know. I don't know how much it behooves us to talk about these tomato can games.
I don't watch a second of it. 49-0 over Indiana State.
Purdue just took it to Larry Bird's old team, Indiana State. Hudson Card looked really good. I mean, I watched a decent amount of the first half, and he looked sharp and good. But you just don't know.
A&M transfer, right? Was it Card? Is that where he was at A&M, or where was he?
Before this, I thought. Well, wasn't he at Purdue last year? Or am I crazy?
Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think he was at. Yeah, he was at Purdue last year. He was Texas before that.
Okay, Texas. Okay.
Yeah. But he looked good. I thought, I mean, they obviously shut out a team, but the disparity in talent level, speed, everything was just so extreme that I never know how much to take from these things, and this one especially.
Don't take much. Yeah. But all right. I mean, it's good. I think if you're going to play a tomato can, getting, scoring almost a 50 burger, getting a shutout, it's good. And whatever you need to do to fix your stuff, kind of do that. So,
yeah.
But not
I mean, he only had one incompletion. He was 24 of 25. That's like Bill Walton against Memphis in the NCAA tournament.
Tony pointed out about Minnesota. Minnesota kicker was all Big Ten last year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't all Big Ten in this game.
No bueno. Okay, our number 13 team. Let me see where this is. All right.
Illinois Fighting Illini.
Hi, I'm from Illinois.
I think there's like two of them that she didn't know what to do, and she just said, like, hi, I'm from that.
Well, because these are just people from that state,
Yeah.
Illinois, another tomato can. They won 45-0. Again, don't know how much to take from it. Again, the quarterback for Illinois looked really good, Luke Altmaier. They were insanely balanced. They had 242 yards passing, and they had 244 yards rushing. Shut them out. Not too much more to take from it.
Blowout City. This was a 28-point spread, and we both said, let's take the points. That was our general theme for a lot of these games, like take the points. And some of these Big Ten teams didn't, some of them were close, and it worked, and other ones not so much.
They're just using up their allotment of points, though. I don't know, is this a good idea?
Yeah.
Should you have spent all of your points on this one?
I don't know. Maybe with the new Pac-12, former Pac-12 teams coming in, people are like, hey, we better score some points here.
Yeah, we better get some
we
points.
We got to cover some spreads.
Yeah.
But they covered this one. This was, Blowout City. Good for Illinois. We'll see kind of where they go from here. All right. Next up, we have our number 12 team.
Indiana Hoosiers.
Hey, folks. I'm from Indiana.
Unfortunately, they're back-to-back because if we spread it out a little bit, it would have been
yeah, that would have hit harder if we'd spread them out a little bit more. Indiana won 31-7. I think a nice, convincing win for Curt Cignetti in his first game.
Yeah.
I thought Curtis Rourke looked fine, sharp enough. What I'm looking for from him is something more like the form from 2 years ago when he was really, really good at Ohio, not so much last year. This looked like kind of in between. So hoping to see more from him. They have UCLA in a couple of weeks. And I thought they ran the ball really, really well. So I think with those two things, this was a pretty good defensive showing. I mean, they got after the quarterback pretty well and shut down the run game. And yeah, I mean, a convincing home win in the opener. Nothing to sneeze at. And I think they covered.
Yeah, they covered this one. We both were pretty high on Indiana just listening to Curt Cignetti. But yeah, they end up covering this one. It was 31-7, and the spread was, what was the man, there's so many games. Like this is way different than doing before. Going through 18 games I've listed, trying to find like where they are when we're not like putting them in the order and stuff. But yeah, that spread. Why can't I find it? Where is this at? Oh, it was 21.5. So yes, they covered. Barely covered, but they covered this one. So good on Indiana. I think this is one of those things where, they 414 yards to 182. Like it was just kind of like, okay, you're going to dominate this team. You want them to look competent 6.5 yards per play. They did that. Not a great team you're playing. But I don't know. I just have a feeling about this team that they're going to be a much more competent team, and Kirk Cignetti is going to get them going in the right direction. So,
Yep.
Yeah, if you're an Indiana fan, I think there's some. I don't want you don't want to take it too much away, but it can be some excitement there. All right, our number 11 team,
Wisconsin Badgers.
Is that Badger chewing on wood, you think?
did Badgers chew on wood? I don't know. Badgers doing something.
Don't they build dams, or is that beavers? That's beavers.
Those are beavers. Yeah.
Badgers do something. We know that. What Badgers don't do is look great on offense. Wisconsin beat Western Michigan 28-14. My bullishness on Wisconsin preseason, where I've got them beaten a couple of potential playoff teams, not looking so hot right now.
No, I was not on this bandwagon.
Yeah, I thought Tyler Van Dyke did not look great. Really low yards per attempt. Just don't think he was seeing the field that great. Just not super sharp. They ran the ball okay. And then, I don't know. It was a 10-7 game at halftime. Wisconsin up on Western Michigan. It finished 28-14. But there was there was so much about this game that's just kind of alarms, I think, for Wisconsin fans who thought, Luke Fickell was further ahead in his kind of turnaround of that program. And it just didn't look great.
No, it didn't. Western Michigan had 7 drives in this game. Like 7. They had the ball 7 times. Wisconsin 9.
They also had a successful fake field goal in the third quarter.
That was the third quarter, yes. But like you said, it was like low-scoring game at half. This was one of those things. Like we got 388 yards against Western Michigan. Like what's going to happen when you're playing actual Michigan? Like that's what you're kind of worried about here. We'll see. Going through. Some of the growing pains of the first game. But we got this one right. We both took Western Michigan in 24.5 points. So we got this one right.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is a lot of teams didn't look great in their openers.
Right.
And
that's
Wisconsin
okay.
didn't look great in some of the same ways that a lot of other teams didn't look great. So there is that caveat. It's another team that needs to improve drastically if they're going to get to, kind of where they want to be, which is, I think, 8-4, 9-3 this year.
Well, I think so. You're playing Western Michigan. I don't think Wisconsin, maybe you want to look it up. I don't think they have anybody good in their out of conference schedule coming up. So, they'll be fine going into conference play. Like, I'm sure they'll be 3-0. Right. Who are they playing? Like Southern Alabama or something?
I think it's, I think the school is located in like central southern Alabama.
It's not Southern Alabama?
It's not the one in Mobile, though. I think it's it's a little bit further
north. Not the
north.
Tuscaloosa one, is it?
I think it's University of Alabama
shit.
at Tuscaloosa.
Okay, that's not good.
Yeah, not so good.
Oh, yeah. You guys are screwed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but knowing you have is that the second game? Is it?
No, they've got South Dakota next.
South Dakota, okay.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things when it's okay to like not look good in your opener against a kind of a crappy team when you're sort of building up to something, but knowing that Alabama is looming, like you feel like you want to get off to a quick start. And this was certainly not a quick start. So being like a rock fight you're not going to win a rock fight with Alabama. So just a lot of work to do. We got a couple weeks to get it right, but you would like to see a little bit more knowing that Alabama is looming.
Yep.
That could be like a just exposure for craziness. All right. Our number 10 team, we're going to go way, way, way east.
Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
Scarlet Knight.
Rutgers. So what can you say about Rutgers? I watched an absurd amount of this game. Absurd.
Well, because it was on Thursday
Yeah,
night.
ridiculous amount of this game.
No line, by the way. No line.
That guy Howard can really play. That first half, they were. It looked like it was not quite danger zone for Rutgers in any real way, but like, oh, this might look ugly.
It was like 17-10 7
Yeah.
at half.
And it was not pretty. Rutgers' offense looked pretty much as advertised early on. But then they kind of understood the assignment a little bit better, starting in the second quarter and into the second half. Just give the ball to Kyle Monangai and let him run it. He was among the most impressive running backs I saw all weekend. What he was able to do, and yeah, it's against Howard, but just runs with power. He's got some good burst, good speed, good balance. He's a really, really, really good back, and they knew what was coming. They knew they were running the ball, and they still couldn't stop it, which is, part of that's an FCS program, but also, that's a really good back.
He averaged almost 9 yards a carry, and he carried it 19 times, so that's legit.
Yeah, he looked really, really good. Ethan Kaliakmanis, he didn't look as bad as he did for Minnesota, but again, they're playing an FCS school, so this is another one where I don't know how much you can take from it. It was a little bit of a struggle fest in the first half, but credit to Rutgers for absolutely putting them away and putting the kibosh on anything they were trying to do offensively in the second half. And walking away with a 37-point win. I think this one, they did end up having a line, and I think it was 33, so they ended up covering too.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't bet. We didn't.
They didn't have a
on
line at that point.
Yeah. And a pick six is what started the scoring in this one, so that was sort of like, oh, okay, here we go. That was like the first Big Ten points of the season, if I'm not mistaken, was the pick six there. Did you know, and this doesn't matter if they were playing like Washington or something instead of Rutgers, maybe this would have mattered, but Howard is coached by former Pac-12 commissioner Larry Scott. Did you know that? I don't know if I have do I have the drop? Son of a bitch. We had the Champagne Larry one. I don't think I have it. But yeah. So Larry Scott, didn't know. I know he's a tennis guy, but he is the head coach for Howard.
He's looking a little different these days.
Does he look different?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a black guy now.
Oh.
He's changes happening all over.
I knew they were screwed. I knew Howard was screwed as soon as they were coached by Larry Scott. But, whatever.
Yeah. That was going to be a done deal.
So, but yeah, I think second half, and I think we talked about this on the phone before the show. Like some of the games you saw close first half and then just sort of pull away.
Yeah.
You'd like to see maybe a quicker start, but just sort of you're going to have better athletes. You're going to outclass teams. And this was, I think, Rutgers doing that. But I think if you're one of those, I think all of it, I think we feel like Rutgers can be pretty good this year. Like they can make some strides and, shutting them out in the second half. It was 27-0 in the second half. Like that's kind of stuff you want to see. But they kicked off the scoring for the whole conference with a pick six. So that was kind of fun. We're going to the top 9 here. We have number 9, if I can find it.
Washington Huskies.
Nice. My main takeaway here, so this was the late night game, so I was watching it at a hotel bar in beautiful Honolulu. My main takeaway here is that I think Washington is ahead of schedule from where we thought they might be under Jed Fish. First half, a little bit, I don't know, looking rusty, not very good. Some 3-and-outs, some stalled drives. But they started to pour it on them. Will Rogers looked pretty darn good. Jonah Coleman walking into that offense, walking into it, different offensive line, the whole thing, still looks like he's going to be a problem. Last year, if you weren't paying attention to the Pac-12, if you're a Big Ten fan, he played for Arizona, and I think by the end of the year, I would have said he was pound for pound, he's the best back in the conference. Right there with Damian Martinez.
Yeah, I was going to say Damian Martinez probably.
But Jonah Coleman was really special. There were allusions to him at the beginning of last year being very similar to Maurice Jones-Drew when he was at UCLA, and I poo-pooed that. As the season went on, I started to understand it a little bit more because he's similarly shaped. He's not quite as thick in like his lower body as Maurice was, but similar kind of just balance, speed, burst, the whole thing. He was really special in this one. 16 carries for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns. But then defensively, just completely shutting down this passing game for Weber State. And kind of, once they kind of built a lead, Weber State was trying to pass it to stay in the game, and they couldn't. I thought it was a really good showing for Washington in the first game under Jed Fish. Again, it's an FCS opponent. Weber State is historically a good FCS opponent, so you can take some things away from it. How much can you take from it? But as we'll talk about when we talk about a team a little bit further up the rankings, sometimes you play your FCS opponent and you look really bad doing it. Yeah. Washington didn't look really bad doing it. They looked pretty good. So we'll see. But I think trend lines pointing up a little bit for Washington.
No, I agree with you there. This was a 27.5 point spread. We both took Weber State because we felt that they were going to be competent. We weren't sure what Washington was going to look like. We got it wrong. Washington covered the spread. It was kind of a no-show for Weber State. I mean, 253 total yards of offense. You know, Will Rogers comes in, 77% completions, super efficient. Coleman averaged almost 8 yards a carry with 16 carries. So, they didn't get all the guys from Arizona they wanted, but Coleman was one of them. And Judd Fish, I think he's got a good one there. So you want what Washington was going to take a step back, maybe several.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just didn't want it to be that big, and this gives you a little bit of hope that it won't be maybe as big as some of us thought. We'll see. We'll see how they end up doing. But that was pretty, good win. Do what you can against a pretty good FCS team like that.
Yep.
Number 8, we have
Maryland Terrapins.
Speaking of teams that I think looked a lot better than I was expecting,
yes,
Maryland.
We got this way wrong.
Crushed UConn. UConn was struggling to even threaten to score for most of this game.
Yeah, this was like a 20.5 point spread. We both said, "Oh, we'll take UConn on the points." Maryland lost the conference's leading passer. It's like not even close to covering.
Yeah, this was a old school beatdown. It was 23-0 at halftime, finished 50-7. UConn, coached by my man Jim Mora. I think Jim Mora is going to be out of a job by the end of the year. Like, there's this program looks kind of lifeless right now. Maryland, though, Billy Edwards. If you wanted a first showing audition as quarterback taking over, that was pretty damn good. He looked pretty much everything you'd want him to look like. I think their running game was completely fine, but defensively just completely shutting down really any hope they had of scoring for that entire first half, and then the game was put away. Really impressive showing. I think, again, that was a team I was expecting to take a step back because of the quarterback questions. They were also losing a decent amount of production on both sides of the ball. You don't want to overreact to week one, but they don't look like a team that's going to take a major step back this year.
No. What was it? Where was it? Ty Felton, 7 catches, 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. And just in general, Maryland doubled up, 629 yards to 310 for UConn. This was it's not like it's the only independent team left, but this is, if you're going to look like something like, hey, we're not gonna take as big of a step back. We're gonna look good against a not as great team, an overmatched team. This is how you want to look. You know?
Commanding the entire time and just blowing them off the field.
Yeah, and so that Maryland did what they had to do. We got this one way wrong. We thought there might be a little bit of I don't know if it says more about Maryland or UConn. We'll see, but Maryland, you should be impressed with how they looked in that one. You can only beat who's in front of you, and then they beat the living snot out of them. All right, our number 7 team. You could move these guys up a little bit too, but we'll see.
Nebraska Cornhuskers.
I'm peeling corn.
They might move up. The thing is that it's an 18-team league now, so it's just hard to figure it out, especially based on these games against pseudo tomato cans. But there was a time very recently where Nebraska was not able to take care of business against the tomato cans, as recently as the last few years.
We both thought that this was going to be a team that, they haven't gone to a bowl game since 2016, and we thought this was
we thought they'd be better.
Team. I think we both picked them to win 8 or 9 games. I might have picked them more.
I don't think either of us picked them to cover in this one because they were almost 28-point favorites. They ended up winning by 33. UTEP had a drive in the opening quarter where it looked like, oh no, UTEP's going to be able to move the ball. They had some tempo going. They had the whole thing going. They scored 7 points, and then Nebraska just went and turned the water off and shut them out the rest of the game. Dylan Raiola,
23 points in the second quarter.
Dylan Raiola's. That's a very talented true freshman quarterback. Very talented. His, I think, first touchdown throw, if I'm remembering it was the first touchdown throw, was a little fade to the end zone. perfectly placed. Great throw. Now, I've seen a lot of true freshmen play quarterback over the years and seen a lot of true freshmen have good, first games and then falter, and that's almost certainly going to happen here. So Nebraska fans, just bake that in. You're going to have a moment where you're like, man, might have to put the backup in, that sort of stuff. But he looks the part of a guy who should be starting as a true freshman, and he's going to take his lumps, but looked pretty darn good. And defensively, their ability to just take away anything UTEP wanted to do in the second half and the second quarter was really impressive. I mean, I think this one kind of confirms our offseason thinking that this is going to be the first Nebraska bowl team in a while, and maybe more than that.
They could be 7-0 to start the season, the way the schedule sets up. But they look good there. Raiola's first drive was sort of perfect. He got the touchdown pass, but there was a 3rd and long he converted. I think he picked up one with his legs. He kind of did everything you would ask of him for a first drive. So I think Nebraska fans should be excited about that. They controlled the clock. They controlled the ball. UTEP had 205 total yards, insane. So 507 yards for Nebraska. They just control the game, and that's what you want to do. And you have a true freshman quarterback that's supposed to be the savior. You want him to look good. He looked good. So kudos to Dylan Raiola and Nebraska Cornhuskers, who look like they finally could be back and make some noise in the Big Ten. Okay, our number 6 team we have, if I can find it.
Oregon Ducks.
So I just want to take everyone behind the curtain. I originally had Oregon number 4, but Ryan said to kick them lower, which I'm fine with. But
They were ferocious.
Maybe not that.
They weren't that bad. I mean, here's what I would say about this game. Idaho is probably the best FCS team that anyone played in week 1 in the Big Ten. They're top 10-ish FCS. So there's that. On top of that, there was just some Dan Lanning aggression that didn't go Oregon's way, that stalled some drives out. And then there was typical first game stuff. And I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for them. There's definitely some alarming things about this game, but it wasn't as bad as the final score looked. I think they just kind of they never quite put them away, but it was 14-0 at halftime. And I think the defense looked pretty darn good the entire game. We're kind of just making that one last error on offense just over and over again, and it just compounded itself. But this wasn't that far off from a team scoring 38 and making it 38-14. It just they were just missing a couple of things at the end of drives to keep it going. So, I mean, look at Dylan Gabriel's stat line. He was 41 of 49 for 380 yards. You don't see that often resulting in 24 points, especially combined with, they had over 100 yards rushing.
Some empty calories there, yeah.
Yeah, it was empty calories, but,
41 of 49. I mean, 83, almost 84%.
The underlying stats of this game should have had this as a pretty comfortable win. And instead it was a very competitive game going into the fourth quarter. And it only finished a 10-point game.
Yeah, it was 14-7 going into the fourth quarter. Oregon we didn't bet it we didn't pick it because there was no line, but it was going to be a 50-point or 49.5-point spread, and we won by 10. Not what you want, but like you said, we know Oregon's got a stacked roster. I think Dylan Gabriel, he was super efficient, threw for a ton of yards. You got to feel pretty good about that. Some of the game management stuff, like you were mentioning, we've seen that before with Dan Lanning. We'll see if that kind of gets better. But you give Oregon a pass.
No. Hang on. The game management was totally fine. They went for it on fourth. Well, one of them was a fake field goal, fake punt. I can't remember what I watched. Yeah. 4th and 3 at the Oregon 45. That's a go. I mean, it is in any kind of analytics system. It's aggressive. A lot of teams don't do it, but you should go. And then the other one was a 4th and 1 at the Oregon 36. Again, a 4th and 1 pretty much anywhere on the field should be a go if you've got any kind of offense. Not if you're Iowa. Iowa punt.
Okay.
Always punt.
Because that's your
you should punt on first down.
Maybe the way that you manage the red zone and just finishing drives more than the decision making of going on fourth.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Yeah.
But again, pretty good FCS team to a very good FCS team. you'd like Oregon, who's, if you're going to be number 3 in the country, you don't want to beat a program that probably most of the people that are like Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State would look at Idaho and be like, what? Who is that? So you want to be in that class, you should outclass teams like this.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it. So this is power rankings. Oregon could beat the crap out of somebody next week and be number 1. But right now we got them down at number 6. Okay. Our number 5 team, we have
Michigan Wolverines.
This one was not a little bit deceptive on the final score.
Yes.
It was 30-10 final over Fresno State, but this was a pick 6 in the final, 5 minutes away from, like, Fresno State was driving. I think it was at the 10. Throws the pick 6 back the other way.
Yeah. This would have been a lot closer.
Yeah, that would have been a 1-score game if Fresno State continues that drive, and then who knows what happens because there's still 5 minutes left.
So 30-10 looks like it looks better than if you watch
huge
the game.
Swing right at the very end of the game. Michigan's got a lot of stuff to work out offensively. They ended up starting Davis Warren, which I think was sort of unexpected. Most people were expecting Alex Orji to be the starter and be the guy.
Everyone was playing with him on the video game.
Yeah, because he's super fast. Yeah. And then he didn't. I mean, he played, but he was a clear backup. And the thing is, Davis Warren didn't do anything to justify that decision, really, like from what we observed. Like, this was not a good performance from him either. They've got a ton to work out offensively, and this is going to be a major work in progress. I think if your expectation was that Michigan would compete to be in the playoff again, I think I'd probably tamp that down to just be a solid, good team. Like, try to try to get 8-4, 9-3 in the books if you can. But they've got clearly still have a defense. Clearly that defense is still really good. Fresno State was not able to do anything consistently, and they certainly weren't able to run the ball. But that offense, I think, is going to be really limiting this year.
Yeah, they had 121 passing yards in this game. Like, what? Like, you're the defending national champions. Like, you got to do better than that. I mean, 4.2 yards per play for Fresno State, 4.4 for Michigan. It was more lopsided score-wise than the actual game was if you were watching it. So a little concerning. Fresno State, loses their head coach, very recently, but they go on the road and actually fight. And we've covered many of Fresno State games out here covering the Pac-12, and they're a tough out all the time. But going into the big house, like I wanted to see more of a dominant performance from Michigan here, but 121 yards passing is like, come on, dude. Like, we got to do better than that.
That's horrible.
I don't know if you want Alex Orji to be the guy. Like, he can't do worse. Like, if you just let him, if he can
go for a dynamic running game, like go for so if Alex Orji, if he can't execute the passing concepts that you want to execute, make him a one-read quarterback and then use his legs. You've got to figure out some way to give yourself another weapon at that position. Even if it is primarily he's just going to run the ball.
All right, our number 4 team,
Iowa Hawkeyes.
This is the problem with you forcing me to drop Oregon down, is that we now have Iowa as a top 4 team. How did that happen? Why did you let that happen?
Because they scored. I think the stat was in the last 2 years, there was 3 touchdowns to wide receivers in the last 2 years or something, and they had 3 of them in this game. Something along those lines.
Okay, but none of them in the first half. And did you watch this first half?
It was bad.
That was pure Iowa, baby.
But they scored 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, so big takeaway I would say is you can't take anything away from what they did in the second half. You just can't. I don't think Illinois State's any good. Don't.
I just want to give them credit for
what I give them credit for is that defense is still absolutely nails.
Yes.
And Illinois State was never any real threat to score in this game.
189 yards, Illinois State.
Well, because I'm sitting there and look, I'm not rooting against Iowa, but I am rooting for my cover. And I was just Illinois State's got it at midfield again. They still have it at midfield. They still have it at midfield.
Yeah.
It's never moving. It's never going to move from there. That's impressive. Even against an FCS opponent, that's impressive. Cade McNamara in the second half was a lot better than Cade McNamara in the first half.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to take some solace from that, I think that's totally fair. They got maybe some kinks worked out in the first half, and then they figured some things out. I don't want to start saying, hey, Iowa's got an offense until we see it against somebody real. But frankly, they weren't doing this against unreal teams last year, really. So this is probably a step up.
I think it is. 21 points in the fourth quarter after scoring 6 in the first half, but almost 500 yards of offense. Like, that's just not something that we had seen. So give them the benefit of the doubt in this one, even though Illinois State's not a very good team. But that's what
Well, they did score 41 against Western Michigan last year.
Oh, okay.
And Western Michigan's an FBS team.
Illinois State's a FCS team, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But you get a shutout, score a lot of points. Iowa's offense still might be garbage, but they scored points here. They got almost 500 yards.
I'd like to apologize to everyone. I don't know how that ended up number 4.
All right, that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we did. You didn't want Oregon up that high because they didn't look very good.
That's not.
We do try to do the power rankings like what you saw, and we just didn't see a lot from Oregon. Next week they might be number 1, like I said. Our number 3 team we have, if I can find it, where is it? It's somewhere. There's so many freaking teams. Okay.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Is this pure hatred? Is this pure Chip Kelly hatred? Is that why I've done this? Had him number 3.
You did this one. I don't know.
Ohio State beat Akron 52-6. So again, as far as final scores go, a little deceptive. Ohio State had 2 defensive scores in the second half. So it was 38 points of offense. First half, quite a struggle, actually, for Ohio State offensively. Even defensively, Akron was moving the ball okay.
Not in the second half.
Not in the second half. Didn't move the ball at all. But part of that was their quarterback, former Cal quarterback Ben Finley, kept getting hurt and getting knocked out of the game. And so then they'd put in Taj Bullock, who I think he's just like kind of a pure runner. Like he doesn't do a whole lot in the passing game, kind of a one read and then just run. So they were pretty one-dimensional after he came in, and that limited what Akron was trying to do. Joe Moorhead's coaching there now. Who knew? But Ohio State, Will Howard, I thought was pretty surgical throughout the game. I thought he bailed out a lot of what Chip Kelly was trying to do. It looked harder than it should have looked for Ohio State, especially in that first half. It took more work to drive downfield than I think a lot of people were expecting. They had some 3 and outs. Like it was just this is more of a struggle than people were expecting. And do I pin that all on Chip Kelly? Yes, I do. He sucks. Running the ball though, I thought was their. Travion Henderson, I thought, ran the ball really well. I thought Quinshon Judkins in the first half, he was the recipient of a lot of like very predictable calls from Chip Kelly that didn't give him much running room. But they won by 46 points. I was expecting, like honestly, even as much of a Chip hater as I am, I was expecting it to look easier in that first half, and it wasn't. And it makes me think maybe they're still in the learning stages for Chip's offense, which is not the easy to learn, simple thing that it used to be. It's a more complicated offense than he was running at Oregon. And maybe it's just taken longer.
Yeah. Ohio State's had a dominating defense for a little while. They looked the same there, 177 total yards for Akron, but Ohio State was favored by 50, and we took Akron plus 50. We're like, well, how can we not do that? It's the second quarter, and it's 7-3. You're like, all right, well, obviously we're covering this. And then 21-point third quarter. But, like you said, there was the 3 turnovers for Akron, leading to 14 points there in the second half. Made it, more of a blowout than it kind of was. But at the end of the day, it's 52-6. But you watch it and you're like, it didn't feel that way, at least, for most of the game.
Yeah, I walked away from it thinking they've got some things to figure out offensively. I think defensively they're Ohio State, but I think offensively this isn't a finished product by any means. They still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but they finished the drives when they scored. If they moved the ball, they scored. So yeah, it's Ohio State, it's Akron. They're probably still the best team in the conference, but we have them on our number 3 in our power rankings. All right, number 2.
USC Trojans.
This game made me sick to my stomach. USC beat LSU 27-20. So I'm gonna start here. Danton Lynn.
Where'd he come from?
He came from UCLA.
Oh.
Without
Did
the
not like him or
benefit
something?
of the edge personnel he had at UCLA last year, but with the benefit of Kamari Ramsey, who played a fucking awesome game.
He was
Kamari
great.
Ramsey,
He was
oh
great.
my God.
You told me as soon as when they signed him, I was like, "What do you think?" He's like, "He's really good." That's you were like, "I'm just gonna say he's really good." And
Yeah,
you're right.
he was really good in this game. That one tackle he had, I think it was in the first quarter, might have been the second quarter, where he full on had to bust through 3 different defenders to tackle the guy right at the line of scrimmage, and that guy thought he was gonna be running free, and he just comes in flying and just pulls him down. That was amazing. Danton Lynn is really good. He's really good at coaching football, and he's got USC players who were playing soft as baby shit last year suddenly just bowing up and looking like UCLA's defense last year, where it's just hyper aggressive when it needs to be, getting in the backfield, crashing runs, and just making it hard on other teams to do the basics that they want to do. LSU was able to drive at times because, again, USC, I think that if there's one issue, they don't have a great base pass rush. They don't have those weapons on the edge, and so they have to blitz. And so LSU, when they could get a rhythm going in their short passing game, they were able to move the ball. And I think, honestly, I think their one failing was running the ball way too much in the second half. They should have just been, Nussmeier, you're going out there and you are just whipping the ball 6 yard out, 7 yards, and just doing that the entire game. I thought that was their one problem because I think they found some success there and then just went away from it. But Danton Lynn, I think the big takeaway if you're a USC fan is, okay, we have a real defensive coordinator now and good enough personnel that I think that mythical, just get into the top 40 or 50 with a Lincoln Riley offense and you're going to be fine on defense. And I think they're going to get there based on early returns here against what everyone was expecting to be the best offensive line in the country or nearly in LSU, plus a good quarterback.
Yeah, I came away impressed with both teams and talking to, there's a lot of national writers there, like Stuart Mandel or Pat Forty or Ross Dellinger. I talked to all those guys, and with both teams needing to get way better on defense, they both needed to get better on special teams too, and then just not take as big of a step back on offense. It looked like they did all the things in the offseason to try to achieve that, but you weren't sure what was going to happen, and it looked like they both did. I think LSU was a lot better on defense. USC was certainly a lot better on defense, and USC was, it looked like more of a defensive game, 27-20. USC had 7.4 yards per play, and LSU had 6.6, but it's still, the defense made the big plays when they had to. There was a little bend but don't break kind of thing, but both of these teams would give up chunk plays, busted coverages, so many yards after contact, and I thought both teams tackled a lot better. You mentioned Kamari Ramsey, some of the guys that USC added from Pac-12, Kamari Ramsey coming in, or Easton Mascarenas-Arnold coming from Oregon State. They just tackled better. They were a lot tougher when they were. I was watching this. You got to see this show called Whiskey and Wine. It's from literally the ESPN Baton Rouge station, and I've done their radio. You'll probably do it coming up when UCLA goes to LSU, but it's T-Bob Herbert and Jacob Hester. They do a regular show, but they did this basically after party show. F-bombs constantly. They were all wearing LSU gear, pounding the table. They were so pissed that they've lost 5 straight openers, and they were it was just the craziest show. But the dude was saying, it's look, USC, we call them soft and all, like you said, baby shit or whatever. They were just tough. They were a lot tougher than they were before, and I think you have to give credit to Danton Lynn for that. So they look like they have a real defense for sure. They gave up some plays in the passing game, but LSU wanted to run the ball, and USC essentially stopped it outside of a couple runs in the third quarter. They brought their third string running back, John Embry, in, and he had some success. But for the most part, they got, it was the passing game on both sides what was working. And Woody Marks comes in from Mississippi State. He gets 2 touchdowns, including the game winner at the end to seal it. And I thought they played a lot more discipline, and the defense was a lot better. I mean, if you're looking at problems, like they didn't get much of a pass rush, that could be a problem. And they weren't great offensively. There were some weird play calls. They did some trick plays that didn't work. They had a couple balls that were fumbled that the offensive line jumped on. This one could have went either way. But I would say coming away, and I would tell USC fans this, or anyone if you're following it, or LSU fans too, you needed your team to get significantly better in one aspect and not drop off that much in another. And I think both USC and LSU did that, setting themselves up for, a pretty good season. Even if you lose this game, if you're LSU, you lose this game, you got a pretty, easy schedule going forward. Then they got some tough games, but they got
Hold on.
What? They do have undefeated UCLA coming.
UCLA, which is 1-0 on the road.
Yes,
going into Baton Rouge in 3 weeks.
Can you imagine? First of all, they hated losing to a West Coast team. They freaking hated losing to a West Coast team. When you have it's the worst case scenario for UCLA going to Baton Rouge. They're going to want to destroy the Bruins. Do you know what I mean? They were going to want to They're not going to. Yes, this will be if it's 100-0, they'll be driving to score again.
It's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be good.
I'm super excited.
But I think if both teams look like they're better and can be. Josh Pate did a good piece on this for his late kick stuff. He felt both teams looked like they could be, in contention for a playoff run. And even LSU losing this one, they had a long way to go. They got a lot of tough games, but you just wanted USC to look competent. And they did in this one. So I'm usually, I'm usually I'm not going to be pessimistic, but I'm not going to be overly optimistic either. I'm just going to kind of tell you what I thought. I kind of thought this team could go 9-3, and a lot of people were 7-5, or maybe you said 6-6. It's hard to. I don't think this team can really. I mean, maybe they go 6-6.
Yeah, I was putting my hater hat on that for that. So looking at the schedule right now for USC, what I would say is, so next week's a win against Utah State, at Michigan. Honestly, having watched Michigan, I think it's a pick 'em at worst for USC.
It'll be close. I mean, I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah,
I think Michigan State's front though could give USC a lot of
Michigan's
problems.
front. You said
Michigan
State front.
Not Michigan's front. Sorry.
So okay, well let's say 2-1. Wisconsin at home, that's a win. Minnesota on the road, that's a win. So that's 4-1. Penn State at home, let's just say it's 4-2. Let's say they lose that one. Maryland, that'll be, I think, a reasonably tough game. Rutgers at home, they win. At Washington, I don't know. I mean, it could still. There's still a decent amount of good teams on this.
Yeah, no. There's still a lot of losable games, but I mean, the way they look there, and
they're gonna be a problem in every game they play.
Yeah.
I think that's a
before
fair
you
way
weren't
to put
sure
it.
if that was going to be.
You
didn't think at Michigan that was going to be a problem game, but it certainly could.
And the best part of their offense on Saturday or on Sunday being Miller Moss, a lot of people were extrapolating from the bowl game that he was going to be pretty good, but you don't know, because it's a bowl game. Weird things happen in bowl games. But then he was probably the best part of their offense on Sunday. So
Kyron Hudson might have been.
You could.
Literally top 10 plays for SportsCenter. He had
that catch,
number 1 and number 3.
That catch was insane.
You never see that. He had 2 of the top 3 top 10 plays of the. I mean,
yeah,
that was pretty ridiculous. It was a really cool atmosphere though. It felt
like a big game.
It did, and this was the only Big Ten SEC matchup, so it's good for the conference.
It came through on TV too. I mean, it was super loud. LSU fans got really loud, but even USC fans. I mean, there was moments where it got super loud on both sides. So that was cool. Big game environment.
It was. So we've been there where Utah took over and they would have way more fans and stuff. LSU was dominating when we were just walking around, but it was about 55-45 in the stadium. And then USC, like you said, USC fans got pretty loud there, but it was a really cool environment, and they needed I think it's a good win for the conference. The SEC kind of took it on the chin with Texas A&M losing, and Florida got absolutely boat raced by Miami. Now Georgia put it to Clemson, but That's a good one. I think it's a good win for the conference, which it might matter later in the year when these two teams are kind of going at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then our number one team, where is it? Where is it? Here we go.
Penn State Nittany Lions.
Rawr.
So this one started really slow. Both teams are scoreless in the first quarter, and then Penn State just started putting it on them, and it was really impressive to watch. Very, very balanced. They ended up winning 34-12, but there was a huge lightning delay in the middle of this game. I think it lasted almost 2 hours.
Yeah, you were talking about slow. That was the I'm watching, and then it was like, okay, delay, and then they started showing other games. I forget which other one was on, and then it's like later in the day, it's like, oh, the Penn State Virginia game's still going on.
And I don't know why, but Drew Aller was checking Twitter in the first half because he saw me maligning him and talking some mad shit about, oh, this is the best the Big Ten's got, and then it kind of looked like the best the Big Ten's got. Like he looked pretty damn good second quarter and on. Again, like a lot of guys this weekend, took them a while to get going.
Yeah.
But
he only threw 17 passes, but still.
But
good,
averaged almost 13 yards per pass.
Yeah.
And then he also was able to make some plays with his legs too. I mean, I think what he was able to do this weekend, I think a lot of it might have been getting used to a new offense and like, oh, I can actually do this now. I can actually throw it here now. Oh, cool. And I think that things started to seemingly unlock as the game went on, and their run game, Katrin Allen actually didn't have a good game, but Nicholas Singleton averaged almost 9 yards carry against a West Virginia team. Like this was at West Virginia in a raucous environment for the Mountaineers, and they were able to do a lot offensively against that team. And then defensively, I mean, Garrett Green, they were hyping him up so hard going into this game, and they were talking about him like he's like a Johnny Manziel type. They shut him down. Like they kept him from really threatening at all. Put him on his back quite a bit, but just they made it really, really tough on him. They made it really tough on that West Virginia running game. And this isn't supposed to be a bad West Virginia team. They're supposed to be like a top 40-ish team.
Yeah. I mean, it's a slog in the Big 12, but people, thought they could be on the upper half and stuff. And
yeah, so I thought this was really impressive.
You got this one right. You had there was an 8.5 point spread. I took West Virginia in the points, and you took Penn State, and they covered easily.
Yeah, and Harrison Wallace III, or Trey Wallace, he's a really special receiver.
117 something receiving yards, something like that. A couple of touchdowns, averaging 23.4 yards per catch, which would normally be good. I guess Evans had almost 28, but he only had 2 catches. But if our T-Mac, unfortunately, sort of set the bar for everybody.
Yeah, we'll talk Pac-12. We'll talk Pac-12 in a little bit.
Yeah, but so like the big, Penn State beating West Virginia, Power 5, USC beating LSU, Power 5. Those why we have those teams up there for the power rankings. But I think people talk about Penn State being a potential playoff team just because they were like always 10-2, losing to Michigan and Ohio State, and then being left out of things. You do that now, you're going to be in the playoff. But that they come to the Coliseum in mid-October, and man, that could be a lot of fun. That's the day that all the crazy games are, like Ohio State's at Oregon, and there's so many awesome games that weekend. But don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But Penn State, I think, looking the part. We weren't sure. You watched Drew Aller last year, and you're just like, oh my God, this is terrible. But in this one, you're like, okay, he looks like he can play. So, congrats to the Nittany Lions, big win. You want to get that one, and it's a rivalry game. It was on the road, and to go in there and just squeeze the life out of them. Like I think that sometimes when good teams can do that, just go in there and just take away what you want to do, just make it so you can't do. You just couldn't do anything, and so I think it was a good win for Penn State.
Yep.
Okay. Why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll do some
Pac-12 power rankings very quickly.
Real quick before there was someone in the chat that asked about, we do have our survival pool. It's still around technically, but only one team lost. Otherwise, we would have all been able to move on if you picked a winning team. But Matthew said his laptop died. He's going to put together all the other stuff coming up here real soon. But of the 250 entries, about that many, 84 survived by picking Minnesota to lose, which I almost did, but I didn't. But everyone else won. So the too bad that Minnesota kicker hooked it 2 feet to the right at the end of the game. Otherwise, everyone would have survived under the no loser rule. But I think a lot of people picked the biggest underdog being USC. So you and I are both out, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the good thing I don't have to like keep track of what we're doing or anything. So, all right. So let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. Hey, we're back here on the Podcast of Champions. How do we have 160 something people watching this live?
Because they're all in it for the Pac-12 power rankings.
I guess
which
so,
we're going to
yeah.
drop right now.
Max says, will you read your emails? Yes, we're going to read all the emails. We're going to get to those. Somehow
in just a moment.
This show is going to take a while. So let's go. Why don't you do the? Oh, okay.
You got Pac-12 roundup on
I do
there,
have
baby.
Yeah, hold on. We're going to do our
Pac-12 Roundup.
all right.
The best ever football league.
Number 12.
UCLA Bruins.
Ass.
What did this team? Number 11.
California Golden Bears.
Oh, they beat.
Looked like hot ass
Against
trying to
UC
beat
Davis.
UC Davis, but then pulled away in the second half.
Okay.
Cal.
Number 10. It's not working.
Stanford Cardinal.
Played more competitive than Cal did against a much better team, but lost 34-27.
Who did they play?
TCU.
Oh, yeah. That was the Stanford. These couple of ACT teams. Number 9. Oh, they might not like this.
Oregon State Beavers.
They're actual Pac-12.
I didn't know what to take from this because also I didn't watch it, but Oregon State beat Idaho State 38-15.
Oh, yeah, screw that.
Yeah, whatever.
Number 8.
Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, they they did not. They look like they have the exact same problems as last year against North Dakota State, and North Dakota State could have and should have won this game, except for North Dakota State's offensive coordinator decided to keep throwing in the backup quarterback for some reason, and he sucked. But they won 31-26.
Yeah, that's a trick. Just watch that. That's get your popcorn ready because there's going to be some bad losses for them.
Yep.
Number 7.
Washington State Cougars.
Basically the same thing as Oregon State, just much more impressive. They beat Portland State 70-30. John Mateer looked pretty good.
I watched a little.
So did I. This was I think it was one of the late games, right?
CW coverage though,
Yeah.
like to see like Michael Lamb on there. Like it's just so weird, but like they're talking Pac-12 football. Number 6.
Arizona Wildcats.
Okay, I got to get the stat line correct because this was another game that was on late, so I was watching a fair bit of it. Arizona receiver Teteroa McMillan, the best receiver in the country. I'm sorry, SEC. I don't care about any of your guys. This guy's the best receiver in the country. He had 10 catches for 304 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yikes.
That's insane. We thought he was the best receiver in the Pac-12 last year. Now it's like, I don't know. Is he the best receiver in the history of college football?
Maybe.
Answer.
So he's averaging over 10 yards a catch, right, in the game? Was it
30.
What? That seems like a lot. 30 yards a catch.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona only won 61-39 because that defense might be booty,
God.
but
They were losing a lot of that game.
yeah, no, that defense might be ass.
But T-Mac came up big. All right, number 5.
Arizona State Sun Devils.
Shear's not going to like this, dude.
They are way ahead in their rebuild. I was reading a little bit of what Cartman wrote about this game. They won 48-7 over Wyoming, and if you know anything about Wyoming, that's
That's a legit team.
a legit team, and that's a legit win. It's not at Wyoming. Winning like that at Wyoming is impressive as hell. But, Arizona State. So Sam Levitt, he was getting like kind of lukewarm appraisal preseason, but he looked the part at quarterback. And, they've got a lot of guys. They got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of depth now. And it kind of happened. I was reading a lot of Cartman yesterday in the airport. a lot of really good evaluations.
we're not in the same conferences.
Yeah, I know, but I can't shake it.
I know.
They've out-evaluated. Like, they've done a lot of really good evaluations in the portal and high school recruiting that has really built their depth.
Yeah. All right, number 4.
Washington Huskies.
Talked about them. They
Yep.
rock.
Number 3.
Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, baby.
All right, number 2.
Utah Utes.
They did get a crushing win.
Yeah, I mean, it was pure tomato can city, but they did what they needed to do. So we like that. They beat Southern Utah 49-0. The grand return of Cam Rising and Brant Keithy. Brant Keithy, I think I've got him on my fantasy team. I think he had 3 touchdowns. Is that
Nice.
right?
Who are you in a fantasy league with for this stuff?
Just a bunch of psychos.
Yeah.
They're probably listening right now.
All
Hi,
right.
psychos.
And then number 1.
USC Trojans.
There you go, baby.
All right, so that's our Pac-12 power rankings because we gotta do it.
Yeah, we will have a mythological Pac-12 champion this year. Don't doubt it.
That's what West Texas might. I think I had a tweet here I wanted to see. Okay, listening on my morning walk, and I started thinking, where did the Pac-12 refs land after realignment? Yes, several of the referees who officiated the Colorado versus North Dakota State game on August 29th were indeed part of the Pac-12 officiating crew last year. And there was a lot of controversy in that game, if you remember. So, we saw them. And I think the lead official, maybe it was, I don't know. I thought he might have been a Pac-12 guy too, but he's someone I recognized for the USC LSU game. But I don't know if you saw that. Okay. Yep. We got to get to some questions.
All right, so we're starting at wellness check. Is that right?
Where is that? Oh my God. Is that no, we did that one already.
No, we didn't.
I thought you said we recorded on Monday.
Yeah, and this was on Tuesday.
Oh, no, crap. Okay, we got to start there.
Wellness check from Peter. Ryan and Dave, have you ever run into an old friend from high school or college after not seeing them for a while and it is clear that they probably have joined a cult? Or if not a cult, at least a multi-level marketing scheme? It's when the person seems way too enthusiastic about their life and does not see the danger associated with the path they are currently on. This may not happen in Los Angeles, home of woo-woo science, but it does in other parts of the country. It happens here too. Now, what does this have to do with the big 198? I can't even read it.
I think it's supposed to be 18. I think it's supposed to be 18.
Big 18. Oh, yeah, it's a slash through on the 0. Gotta get my eyes checked. Well, as a concerned and jilted former conference member of USC and UCLA, your season preview of Nebraska left me worried about you all. Are you okay? I get it. Nebraska fans are some of the nicest on the planet. The support for their program should be the envy of former Pac-12 schools. The game day atmosphere in Lincoln is among the best in all sports. But 10-2? 8-4? Beating the Fighting Primes of Colorado? Mon Dieu! Dios mío! Ryan mentioned that Nebraska's luck will change this year. In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. It is well documented that Tom Osborne sold his soul to an LLC comprised of Cthulhu, Hades, and Voldemort for Nebraska's success in the 80s and 90s. Since their 62-36 loss versus Colorado in 2001, Nebraska has only finished one season ranked higher than their initial AP poll position. They are the maestros of preseason hype and regular season failure. They pull you in with Runza, friendly smiles, simpler times of the 80s and 90s when steroids were legal and roster limits didn't matter. Not to mention there was an annual beatdown of Colorado. But that version of Nebraska doesn't exist anymore. I know it is a new experience being in a conference with them, but don't let them fool you into betting the season over on their win total. This year they will be 5-7 or 6-7, bowl loss with heartbreak abound, and next spring or summer, as sure as Tom Cruise needlessly doing stunts to stay relevant, people will be back to prognosticating an 8 or 10 win season. Break the cycle and be a realist. Buffs by a million. This was written before the CU versus North Dakota State game, and the author is not liable for any embarrassment associated with this prediction should Colorado lose.
They didn't lose, but they didn't look good.
No.
So.
Yeah. Beautiful email, though. Well written.
Yeah, we love it.
Love it.
Okay, well, we have a few voicemails. I'll do this email, I guess. From Hugh Janus, our friend. Quick questions. Hi, boys. It's your old pal, Hugh Janus. I hope all has been well and you're enjoying the move to the B1G. I know I certainly am not. Too many M and I schools for me. I prefer A's and W's. Anyway, I digress. A few questions to get the season started. I consulted with my friends, Hugh Jasshole and Hayward Jablomi, on these. Here we go. How is it Dave can manage to fly 2,500 miles to Hawaii for a UCLA game, but can't seem to drive 30 miles from El Segundo to Pasadena for a UCLA game?
It's a great question.
It is. I like it.
I last attended a football game at the Rose Bowl. I've said this a few times, but in the 2015 season. Since then, it's been pretty much nothing but sorrow and heartbreak for UCLA. I think the two are related.
Yeah, maybe you should go.
I just can't bring myself to do it yet. You know, maybe we just need to suffer in the desert for a little bit longer here before I make my triumphant return to the Rose Bowl for UCLA to once again have successful football.
Okay.
But Hawaii's a much better place to also spend some time than Pasadena.
Yeah, Dave loves his vacation, so I like to stick. I'm more nose to the grindstone kind of guy. Dave just gallivants across the world. Number 2, what team in the Big Ten has the best uniforms?
UCLA's home unis. Next question.
Okay, that's Dave's thoughts. Is Dave secretly or not so secretly?
Look, all we got, man. It's all we've got, but they look nice. Okay, it's all we've got.
Is it the powder blue ones or the?
Yeah, I mean the blue and gold.
Okay, not but like
the home unis.
But don't they do the powder sometime?
Not really. I mean that's like they could do like a throwback, but no, it's like true blue.
The true blue.
But it's just the contrast of the blue and gold looks good.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of obviously classic, uniforms now.
Yeah, but it's UCLA. Next question.
The Michigan helmets and
for sure. UCLA. Next
USC,
question.
of course. Just USC and UCLA together when they play.
Yeah. Obviously, all that's very true. UCLA. Next question.
Okay. Is Dave secretly or not so secretly hoping Ohio State's offense is crap under Chip Kelly?
I think I've made it very clear. I think I've made this very clear.
Have you listened to the show? 4, starting with the 2024 season.
My favorite team of this year is whatever defense is facing Ohio State's offense.
Starting 2024, who will stay longer at their respective school? Deshaun Foster or Lincoln Riley?
Oh God. Shit. Lincoln.
Yeah, I think he looked pretty like I could see him like maybe if they do really well, like going to an NFL thing. But it seemed like he was into it. Like he's like, hey, I think we can try to win here. So I don't know, we'll see.
Yep.
5. What do you guys think about UCLA having to pay calimony? I mean, it's fucking hilarious.
It's really funny. I mean, it's very funny. There's a bonus question at the bottom too.
Okay, thanks for all you do. Give us the.
Oh wait, no, yeah, you don't need to do that one.
Oh.
Yeah, no, not a good one.
Okay.
All right, next one for me.
Yeah.
Here's a question. I looked through the UCLA defensive roster for 2022 and 2023. Almost all of the UCLA defensive stars were on both rosters, and we know Chip Kelly was a terrible recruiter. Could great coaching have been the reason for UCLA's defensive improvement in 2023? What's he saying?
So basically, UCLA had the same players in 2022 as 2023.
Yeah, no, okay. So aside from me going briefly into hater mode a week before the season started, I've been pretty consistent on my Danton Lynn thing. 2022, UCLA's defense was ass. And you know who was on that roster? Leatu Latu, Jay Toia, Gabriel Murphy, Grayson Murphy, Carl Jones, all the cornerbacks, all the safeties. Everybody that was good on the defense in 2023 was there in 2022. They were ass. Then Danton Lynn comes in, and suddenly it's a top 10 defense in many categories and top 20 in virtually everything. Yeah, it's coaching. Obviously, it's coaching. Some development, but you know what development also is? Coaching. It's all part of the same thing. And I would, I think one thing to look into for USC people, how much of an influence did Danton Lynn have on strength and conditioning in the offseason for the defensive side of the ball? Because he had a huge influence on that in 2023. And I think that played a big role because those guys on defense were so well conditioned last year. So well conditioned. They could go forever and just energetic and strong and tough. I think he's a very, very good hire.
No, and that was one of my questions for Lincoln Riley before, because like USC posted all these pictures of them, like this is what this guy looked like last year, and now he's big and strong and all this stuff. And you're like, well, what changed? Like your head coach is the same. They didn't get a new strength and conditioning coach. He's the same. They just changed defensive coordinators. But Alex Grinch definitely wanted more of small, fast, whatever. And I think Danton Lynn has a different philosophy. So when he came in, I'll give Lincoln Riley credit for allowing like your defensive coordinator to come in and like basically change how you run the strength and conditioning and nutrition program. And they looked a lot better. They were bigger. I mean, Nate Clifton comes in from Vanderbilt, like 275. He's now like 295, and he started in inside. So I think that was a lot of Denton Lynn's influence. Let's play this voicemail. It's kind of long, but it's I think it's checking on you, Dave.
Hey, Brian and Steve. Trevor here. Calling in an official capacity from the Department of Social Services here in Los Angeles County. We're performing a wellness check on a Mr. David Woods. We've received several reports, mainly from the Hermosa Beach area of Southern California, about some concerning statements that Mr. Woods has been making over the last several months. Apparently, Mr. Woods has been predicting that the UCLA football team, led by new head coach Sharman Shah. No, I'm sorry, Skip Hicks, I believe. No, Gaston Green, was it? Well, in any event, whoever the gentleman is that's currently coaching the UCLA football team, Mr. Woods has been predicting that he, along with his new offensive coordinator that was the architect of, and let me check the reports here again, yes, last year's Washington Commanders offense, that these two gentlemen would lead a team full of Chip Kelly recruits to a winning record in the Big Ten and a victory over USC. These are obviously troubling statements, and even more so when you consider that USC is coached by a man who's had a top 5 scoring offense for 9 consecutive seasons, won 4 conference championships, and made 3 playoff appearances, and who just shored up the only weakness in his program by hiring away a star defensive coordinator from UCLA. It's very confounding, and it's even more so when you consider that, according to the reports here, Mr. Woods has apparently also predicted that said star defensive coordinator would not do anywhere near as well this year as he did last year at UCLA because, and again, let me see the report. Yes, because he no longer has Chip Kelly's recruits. It's really scary for the people who love you, Mr. Woods, and that's why we're calling. After this weekend's results, we moved your file to the top of our pile. We really want to get in touch with you now and not wait until USC's playing for the Big Ten championship and UCLA is putting the finishing touches on a 2-10 season in front of 12,000 people at the Rose Bowl. So please give us a call back as soon as you can. Thank you, and good night.
Well,
we need the applause thing.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let me do that.
Oh, my God. What a great voicemail. I was thinking about this as he was it's so funny how my optimism, my like preseason out there outlandish optimism has been tamped down over the years because like when I was a student, it was like, oh, they're going 10-2. They're going 12-0 all the time. And then it was like, oh, they might go 9-3. And now it's, I think they can go 6-6.
And that's still like ridiculously optimistic.
Yeah, 2-10, man.
It's funny though. You get like knowing you from over the years, like you could see him switching into that mode. It's almost like he just like, not that I'm a cocaine guy, but he did a little bump or something, and it's like, oh yeah, USC 6-6, they're gonna be awful. Yeah, UCLA's gonna beat them. UCLA, yeah, 6-6 for sure. Like like that's the floor, and that like, but it's a very fleeting high. It just like it goes away pretty quickly. The first round of games come, and he's like, "Yep, they're gonna be awful." Like all this, like it was a very brief high for David Woods.
About a week and a half, man. About a week and a half. But it's always when I'm writing my season preview. That was a great voicemail. I don't know how anyone will top it. All right, this is from Oxnard Steve. Rutger Hauer beat himself up. In trying to follow the new Big Ten Conference and learning most of what I know from Ryan and David and their friends, I stumbled across this little nugget. Rutger Hauer, who passed away in 2019 after an illustrious acting career with many awards and accolades, somehow beat himself pretty badly, I may say, in a game of football this Labor Day weekend. It appeared that his first name, for some reason spelled with an S on the end, beat his last name, somehow spelled incorrectly as Howard, 44-7. There was evidently even quite a bit of controversy after the game as his last name accused his first name of running up the score with a last-second touchdown in what was already a blowout. I must say it is fascinating how artificial intelligence is coming up with new ways to entertain and blow one's mind. So now I wonder if that was really what the Big Ten Conference was founded on, artificial intelligence. The Big Ten is now legitimately smarter for bringing in the academic cream of the Pac-12 crop, USC, UCLA, and Washington. Psst, Oregon was brought in for their Nike money and curiously changing uniforms. The movie Blade Runner was all about a futuristic dystopian civilization in Los Angeles where artificial intelligence played a central role. Rutger Hauer famously starred in the movie, but I do not recall him playing a game of football against himself. And wouldn't LA's own Deshaun Foster have absolutely loved to have artificial intelligence take his place at Big Ten Media Days? But I digress. So glad football is back.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. We're glad football is back as well. Our buddy Frank in Sacramento has another question. Since Oregon is buying 13 starters, should they have gone after Cam Ward rather than Oklahoma castoff Dylan Gabriel?
I mean, calling him a castoff is insane.
Yeah, he was not a castoff, but Cam Ward looked way better than I thought. Like, I could only picture the games where he was throwing behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, no, he looked.
He was like a legit quarterback.
He looks like he's gonna. I mean,
like you have to be pulling your hair out if you're watching this fan. Like, where was that?
Yeah, he looked really good. All right,
you want to do a voicemail?
Sure.
All right. Speaking of Gabriel.
Hi guys, it's your resident chair of Big Ten Studies, Alan in St. Louis. I have two quick questions for the two leading experts in Smash Mouth Big Ten football. First, will Dylan Gabriel beat Bo Nix's 2023 record of a nice 6.9 yards of average depth of throw? For reference, Gabriel averaged 4.3 yards per throw against the mighty Idaho Vandals, well on track to win the school record this year. Second, Dave, could you let us know which UCLA players stood out in your impressive win versus Hawaii over the weekend? I'd like to get a head start on my projected USC 2025 depth chart. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
I'm only going to mention seniors then. Kane Medrano looked good at linebacker, and Rico Flores, who is a sophomore, I believe, at receiver, looked really good too.
I think it was a little shot at Bo Nix and like the depth of passes, but he's the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
That's right, baby.
It's pretty good. Like, you know,
a lot of haters on the Knicks.
Gabriel did throw a lot of short passes,
a lot of short dump offs.
That one. All right, you meet to let's see. This is Fake Washington.
Yeah, you want to do it?
Sure. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Dearly departed podcast of champions, refusing to give Washington television exposure or even to collect TV revenue to air their games, and then marching out Northwestern as fake Washington and fake Husky Stadium, and thinking that we will never notice on our phone screens from our posh dog walking trails and perfect weather is an egregious example of East Coast bias. Yours truly, a Packless 10 fan. This was so Comcast was not carrying
the Big Ten Network.
We had a couple of like controversial things happen. Comcast wasn't carrying Big Ten Network in the Pacific Northwest, or I think maybe on the West Coast, where they wanted, I think the Big Ten Network wanted to charge in-market pricing for the new Pac-12 schools, or the Big Ten schools, former Pac-12 schools, and they were refusing to do it, so then you couldn't watch it. And then for the USC LSU game, which was ABC ESPN, DirecTV had a battle with Disney and took the channels off like 15 minutes before kickoff or something like that. So everyone was on my Twitter. So that was crazy too.
Yeah.
So I've heard someone tweeted like, I don't understand the leverage because like ABC has the game or the Big Ten Network has the game. You can't get it any other way. Like you can just switch networks. Like you don't, if you had Spectrum or if you had Comcast or DirecTV or whatever, and they don't have the thing you want, you could just switch. They were saying, I forget who tweeted this, but I don't know. I don't know if this got resolved or not. Either way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't know. Sure. This is from Andy. You guys are being too nice. Rank the states in the Big Ten Conference from shittiest to the best. All right. So from shittiest to best. All right. So the contenders for shittiest for me are Maryland, Iowa, Nebraska, and Indiana.
Okay. Why Maryland? Like
there's not a whole lot of there, you know.
I love the crab scene.
Yeah, it's okay. I haven't spent a ton of time in Maryland.
It's in the ocean, you know. It's like I would.
Yeah, but you get some like, you know, you get Great Lake stuff with, you know, Indiana.
Not Nebraska.
No, not Nebraska. Nebraska's super flat. Not as flat as you'd think though.
I mean, every place has charm, you know. It's like,
oh, stop that. Okay, we're ranking shittiest to the best. All right, so shittiest.
Oh, he puts New York. It's New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey probably the shittiest.
No, New Jersey's not the shittiest. Princeton's nice. Like Jersey gets a bad rep. Like Northern Jersey sucks. Yeah, we can all agree. But Central Jersey, you get some nice stuff. All right, I'm gonna go with Indiana.
I don't like doing this. I don't want to do this.
No, we're doing this. Indiana, shittiest. All right, then after that, what are we doing?
Nebraska,
second shittiest. Okay.
New Jersey.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so that's 3 down. Should we go Iowa next?
Sure.
All right, Iowa, 4th shittiest, and then I'm going to go Maryland. I'm going to go all the way to Maryland. Then I'm probably going
Minnesota.
You got a lot of lakes up there.
Minnesota's pretty. I mean, I like a lot of these
I
places.
like a lot of the northern Great Lake areas because it's like you got some outdoorsy stuff up there. Like I couldn't rate Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota low because it's nice. I'd probably go Ohio and Pennsylvania next. Actually,
I mean, I was like born in Ohio and like grew up in Pennsylvania, but sure,
but
go ahead.
Central PA is kind of rough, man.
Okay.
Is it nice? Like,
I haven't done a lot of Central PA, but
so Ohio. The thing is, I like Cleveland. Like, I like that northern stretch a little bit. So that's a hard one for me too. But I'll go Ohio and Pennsylvania.
Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. The thing is, Illinois is what you think Indiana is, except for Chicago. Like, it's really boring, everything up until Chicago. So, yeah, we can throw them in
like
there.
Chicago.
Then we've got Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota, which we haven't done.
And Oregon, Washington, and California.
Yeah, but they're obviously the top 3. So the thing I don't know is New York.
Everyone's gonna hate us.
I don't like New York City that much. I think it's a little bit like, I don't know, it's a little too much for me. But upstate New York is really like, there's some cool stuff up there. So it's hard.
No, we don't have New York. We only have New Jersey.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's not in there. So all right, so Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So let's put them in order. I'll go Michigan on the shittier end, then Wisconsin, then Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then the West Coast, the best coast, obviously is hard to wager. I'm going to go
Oregon, Washington, Cal.
Yeah, probably. I might go Washington, Oregon, California.
Oh.
Little less
like
rainy
Seattle.
in Oregon.
I like Seattle more than Portland.
Yeah, but I like being able to walk around and it not raining all the time on me in Oregon.
Okay.
A little bit more. Okay, those have been your shitty state rankings in the Big Ten.
Wow, a lot of hate mail coming. All right, here's the last voicemail.
What's up, guys? It's Perk. Much like Dave's take from 2 years ago that Jaden Daniels wouldn't play snap for LSU, I think his take about USC being one of the least talented USC teams in a while, I think will age quite well. But in all seriousness, after watching last night's win versus LSU, I'm curious to know have you guys feel a lot better about USC's chances within the Big Ten this year? Or do you feel about the same? I know from watching a fair amount of USC and Pac-12 football over the last 2 years, along with just kind of growing up in the Big Ten, they looked every bit matched up last night, and I think they're more than ready to handle whatever's thrown at them in the Big Ten. And so I'm just kind of curious to know if you guys feel the same way or if it's just early season jitters. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Perk. And just if you don't know the take that David had, which was a classic, I had the soundbite before, but before the 2023 season.
No, it was 2022.
2022.
Yeah.
David Wood's take was he didn't think that Jaden Daniels would be winning the quarterback job at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, I don't know if you follow the sport, but he won the Heisman Trophy. So I think he was eventually named the starter.
The big thing you should take away from the things I say is that they're very good and always accurate. I've actually never had a history of inaccuracy. All of my tweets age like fine wine. Never will you hear it said that they age like milk.
On a hot day.
I am a pure take master.
That was one of the best.
It was so good.
He's not going to even start. He won the Heisman. Nice.
Yeah. It was good work.
But I kind of think USC is like a third in the. My guess would be like a third in the Big Ten sort of thing, like maybe finish 9-3.
It's still just
Don't
kind
go
of
to the championship.
It's still just kind of a tough schedule.
Yeah.
That's if they had Iowa's schedule or Rutgers' schedule, it would be a different story, but they don't. So that's kind of the drawback. Okay, where are we? All right, that was shitty state. All right, I can do Dave.
Oh, we got pictures.
What
here.
the hell?
Oh my God, I'm not saving this.
Dave
Is this worth doing?
All right. I'm tired. Thanks for all your hard work on the pod. The 8 p.m. kickoffs are killing me. Last night I returned home to Seguim. Is that how you pronounce it? Sequim? What did we decide? At 2:58 a.m. after watching the Dogs dominate the best team in the Big Sky. I can't imagine any Big Ten fan base would be happy with a kickoff after 8 p.m. local time. How late are we going to have kickoffs during Big Ten play? I'm thinking 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, depending on the opponent, would be the latest to avoid East Coast fans rioting. I hope this update finds you well. I've been enjoying the episodes of your podcast, and noticed that the focus is often on the teams and stats. It made me think about the personalities behind the show, Ryan and David. You're not just Gen AI voices awaiting our requests for Disney princess comparisons, coach fight rankings, and pop culture references. You're people with your own feelings and preferences. I thought it might be fun for us listeners to do the rankings for once and share which Disney princess we think Ryan and David would be and why. It could be a lighthearted segment that gives David a break from all his hard work. I'll go first. Ryan might be matched with Aladdin. Ryan is adventurous with his trips to Catalina, clever, setting up the podcast soundboard, and charismatic. Just look at his smile. Aladdin's resourcefulness and charm could be a great fit. Picture included.
Yes. He has a picture of my face on Aladdin in front of, it's actually, did he draw this? Like, it's literally in front of a caricature of like where the USC players come out and there's like the Trojan sword there. Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Maybe. David could be matched with Belle from Beauty and the Beast. David is thoughtful, intellectual, and enjoys deep conversations, all evident from his great responses to our poorly worded questions. Belle's love for books and her inquisitive nature could be a good match. Picture included.
We might have to tweet these out or something.
These are very good.
Yeah.
These are very,
Thanks,
very
Dave.
good. Looking forward to your thoughts on this. Happy potting. Wow, that was good shit.
That is great. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, we'll have to tweet those out because those are very cool looking. Okay, this one, it comes with a tweet. I just pulled it up. Big Ten fake news media.
This is also from Dave.
Same Dave?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Dave. Okay. I've been so used to the accuracy and professionalism of the Pac-12 that this caught me by surprise. I think there's sarcasm there. We are less than a week into the football season, and biased Big Ten reporters are already making up records for their own teams. See this tweet on Michigan's, quote, record winning streak, breaking the previous record that they also held. And the record is from Brandon Korentz. Michigan now has won 29 straight regular season games, the most by any Big Ten team in conference history. The previous record was 28 by Michigan from 1901 to 03 under Fielding Yost, and Ohio State from 05 to 07 under Jim Tressel. And he goes on to say, I don't know where this is going, but multiple Big Ten teams can have longer winning streaks than 29 games. From my count, that only puts them in fourth place behind Nebraska, USC, and the real record holder, Washington, with a 40-game win streak. At least the last time I checked, 40 was longer than 29. How can this tweet get promoted far and wide by official Big Ten accounts and media members with no fact checking?
They just the fact that they're still doing that to Nebraska, I mean, I think it's just it's unconscionable. You know, these are long-standing Big Ten teams: USC, Washington, and Nebraska.
Yeah,
this is disgusting. Frankly,
I
think there should be strongly written letters written.
Fake news.
Quick pool update. Oh, that's
just
just whatever. This is from Maximus Decimus Meridius. Greetings, ye men of Los Angeles. I trust this missive finds ye in good health, as ye are no doubt aware the season of war hath commenced. Alas, our onset hath been most unexpected. The youths of Troy have now ascended to men, achieving their finest victory since they vanquished Penn State in the Rose Bowl but 7 years past. To the astonishment of the entire realm, they hath dispatched the knaves from Baton Rouge with a defeat. I don't know why it's getting Scottish. The House of Bruin hath commenced with a rather predictable fate. At least David was fixed to his seat throughout the full 60 minutes of the contest. Now to more pressing matters. Mine own clan, from the House of Mallard, was esteemed by most of the kingdom as a force of formidable renown. We were feared, we were honored, and we were expected to vanquish the malevolent prince, the son of Nut from Ohio. The Mallards were dispatched to rescue the sisters of the poor from the hands of the mischievous youths pilfering their sustenance. This was not meant to be a battle, but rather a mere inconvenience. Yet the Mallards were returned from the fray much as Napoleon from Waterloo, with 2 black eyes and a grievously wounded pride. I lament to inform the kingdom that the House of Mallard shall not march to Indianapolis to confront the son of Nut, at least not as yet. Thus take thy time to revel in jest, enjoy it whilst it endures. Yet be assured the house of Mallard shall return. In conclusion, I would fain inquire of Mr. Woods, didst thou happen to see thy long-lost friend Charles Edward Kelly issuing battle orders from on high? He appeared most joyous and full of mirth. Methinks the son of Nut doth...
How are you doing this with a straight face?
Methinks the son of Nut doth feed him well. Press on, valiant lads. Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Nice.
Yeah, Chip Kelly was up in the booth.
Oh, he's calling plays up the booth?
Yep.
Nice. By the way, I just tweeted out those photos while you were reading.
Oh, good. Very good.
Yeah. No, that's an impressive read. Like, I don't think I could.
No,
I couldn't read it.
Luck of the draw that I ended up with that one.
I'm like almost gone. So
we're almost at 2 hours. We need to finish this thing.
Yeah. Text message from Kevin in the IE. Ryan and Dave, with UCLA's comfort behind upset win over a powerhouse Hawaii team, how excited are you for the remainder of UCLA's season? Given how well they played, what are the chances UCLA finishes the season 1-11? Love the show and fight on. Kevin in the IE. I saw your tweets that there was like the 0-12 talk was coming into play.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so
that dream is dead, unfortunately. But
yeah, I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. Little Les Mis for you, Ryan. 1-11. So assessing the opportunities for wins are essentially Indiana in 2 weeks, Minnesota in October, Fresno State at the end of the season. I don't want to like rule out the possibility that they improve and like they make something playable, but the thing is, Nebraska, Rutgers, and Iowa all looked as good, if not better, than I was expecting preseason. So it's hard to say. Washington looks better than I thought they would look preseason, and USC obviously does. And frankly, Fresno State's no slouch. Neither is Indiana. And Minnesota, like I just talked about, I was actually kind of impressed with their defense. So I guess my point is they could absolutely go 1-11. I don't think they will. I think they'll pull out a win or two.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably 3-9, 2-10.
Yeah.
2-10 or 1-11, just so everyone knows, would be the worst record in UCLA history. New depths.
We'll see. West Texas Mike also send us, is this the greatest prediction and or troll tweet of all time? And it was, I don't know, it was like it was supposed to be LSU fans in a pool, and it was like, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but like guys in a pool holding each other and crying and stuff. I don't know. So it's hard to really talk about stuff like that, West Texas Mike, on a podcast, but
yeah, it's hard to describe tweets. All right, here's Crispy Bruin, UCLA season prediction revision. Hey, guys. After my somewhat bombastic schedule prediction last week and watching UCLA's game in person, I have a slight revision. UCLA is definitely going 10-2. UCLA showed exponential improvement between halves, locking down a feisty Hawaii offense, and found its kicker of the future in Big Ten Player of the Week, Mateen in the Bagani. Meanwhile, LSU showed how porous its defense is against a career bench warmer in Miller Moss, who couldn't lace Ethan G-Man Garber's laces on his best day. UCLA's game at LSU moved from toss-up to likely win. Also, Oregon looked pretty fraudulent against an FCS team, so move that game up to tilt UCLA. Good luck to the rest of the big meh. The mighty Bruins are coming. Keep it fair and balanced. Crispy Bruin. Yes, I agree.
Who was in the chat that was having problems with the sarcasm?
Mark was having some trouble today with the sarcasm about UCLA.
Mark was funny. He was like, you can't be serious. You can't be serious. And then he was like, oh, sorry, I'm old and slow or something. He like totally, he didn't, once he realized it was just like trolling and stuff, it was just like,
no, UCLA is hot dog shit. But look, UCLA fans, I'm going to give a lot of credit to UCLA fans here because we have discovered some coping mechanisms over the years. One of them is just absolutely trolling yourself and just, oh no, they look great. They beat a team by 3 on the road. I don't know what you're talking about. This is great. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, actually, if you were going to like power rank the nation, no one has a better win than UCLA. Like they have a win over it.
They have a
team with-
win over a team that already had a win.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Is
it was
there
on the
any other-
road.
is there
And it was
any
on the road.
Is that the only? Is UCLA the only team in the nation?
It might be. It might be.
Because how many teams played the first week?
It wasn't many.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we got to wrap crap up. Should we do should we squeeze in the previews for this week? Or
No.
That's kidding. Holy cow! 2-hour show.
Yeah, so we'll be back later this week, probably, I'm guessing Thursday.
I'm gonna have to sleep until Thursday, I think.
Yeah, but we'll probably be back
got a lot to
Thursday-ish.
do.
We'll post it on Twitter. I'll post it on the message boards. I think we got a lot of listeners and viewers from other sites today, so that was good.
Who's UCLA playing this
bye week? So
one game in a bye week?
Yeah, they got a bye week.
That's so weird. USC has Utah State and then a bye week, and then at Michigan.
Yeah, they go bye week, Indiana, and then the gauntlet.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, that's gonna be.
Yep.
That's gonna be fun. Okay. Well, yeah. So we'll come back later in the week and preview the rest of the games. If you're following along at home, your boy has a 1-game lead on David Woods because I picked Hawaii plus 14.5. Very happy about that. But yeah, we'll keep it going. If you're in the survival pool, we'll come back with a link to where you can go to make your picks. I think they said there was like 85 people left, so we knocked off 2/3 or so of the crew in week 1. This might not last very long because it's hard to pick some of this stuff, especially with winners losers things when you have to pick a loser that might not get much of those. All right, well, I'll wrap it up for David Woods. I am Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye.